Good morning, everybody. I want to thank Audrey and the organizers of this event for inviting me to be here today to talk about my passion, the lucky ironfish. It's my first time spending a few days in Taiwan, and I can already say that it's a wonderful country, lots of greenery, and I'm very much appreciating the warm weather coming from Canada. So as Audrey said, I'm going to spend some time to talk about the social enterprise Lucky Ironfish, but I have reserved some time at the end, hopefully ample time, where you can ask any questions. I understand this is being broadcast as well, so if you would like to submit a question for Audrey to read, please do so. Or if you have anything you want to say on social media, you can tag us at Lucky Ironfish on both Twitter and Facebook. So I'm going to start off by showing you this image. This is an image of a mother in Kenya. She lives a very typical life. She takes care of her kids. She works. She prepares meals for her food every day. But she has difficulty doing this because she suffers from iron deficiency. Now, this mother could be in Kenya, could be in Toronto, New York, or even Taiwan, because iron deficiency is a massive global issue. Signs and symptoms of iron deficiency can range from dizziness to fatigue, but it can cause some much more severe health complications, including child mortality and increased susceptibility to bleeding, and in severe cases, iron deficiency and anemia can lead to death. Iron deficiency mainly impacts women of reproductive age and children, like that was in the image before. It limits your cognitive development for newborn babies, so it prevents the brain to actually grow to its full potential. It causes a 20% reduction in work output or ability to concentrate in school. And the World Bank has actually estimated that this takes $70 billion a year out of the global economy. Now, iron is very important. Iron develops hemoglobin. Hemoglobin is what carries oxygen around your body. Without the red blood cells, without hemoglobin, your body is not going to get oxygen, and that's what's going to cause all of those serious consequences. Now, iron deficiency and anemia can be caused by a variety of things, but mainly it's caused, or the root issue, is a lack of iron in the diet. Now, you can have a lack of iron in the diet because you can't afford nutritious food, so it mainly does impact low-income households. But also a meatless diet. So if you're a vegetarian or a vegan, you're much more likely to have iron deficiency. The Copenhagen Consensus, which is a group of economists and academics who get together every 4 years, in Copenhagen, have said that iron deficiency is the #1 challenge facing the world, both in terms of health and economic impact. Now, they made this first proclamation in the year 2000, and they have made it every 4 years since. This is a map of the world indicating iron deficiency rates globally. It's been provided by the World Health Organization, and what it shows is the deeper the color, the higher the rates of iron deficiency. So the map does show that iron deficiency is predominantly seen in the developing world. But for me, what is incredible is when you look at the gray areas, countries that are not significant in iron deficiency, the rates can still be as high as 20%. 20% of Canada, where I'm from, has iron deficiency. And I just read this morning that about 15% of people in Taiwan have iron deficiency. So this truly is a massive global problem impacting 1/3 of the world's population. The current main treatment for iron deficiency are iron supplement pills. Now, I want to do a bit of a poll. If you feel comfortable, raise your hand if you have or know someone who has iron deficiency. I've had it before, so a few people. Now, raise your hand if you would like to take daily iron supplements. Take these big pills every day. Yeah, no one. Iron supplements are currently failing to address the issue of iron deficiency. Since the year 2000, since the Copenhagen Consensus made that proclamation, iron deficiency has gone up by 10%, and spending on iron deficiency has gone up by 20%. So we are spending billions of dollars on a problem that's only getting worse. We need a simple solution for this complex global problem. We need the lucky ironfish. This is the lucky ironfish. It's small, it fits in the palm of my hand, but it is having a truly profound impact around the world. So how does it work? Well, the lucky ironfish is a simple cooking tool. All you have to do is add the lucky ironfish to your cooking pot, boil it for 10 minutes, and that's it. Doing this can provide a family with their daily portion of iron. It naturally fortifies the food, it doesn't change the taste, color, or smell, and so it's an at-home fortification tool. Now, lucky ironfish can be used in a variety of ways. You can make water with it that you can put in juice or smoothies. You can add it when you're making soups or curries, and you can even use it when you're cooking grains like rice or quinoa. We actually have a lot of mothers who use a lucky ironfish who say that their kids hate taking pills. So they secretly make juice with it in the morning, and the kids don't realize that they're drinking iron-fortified juice. So lucky ironfish is a novel solution. It's made with specially designed electrolytic iron. Now what this means is it's a very fine, very tiny sized iron particle that the body can easily absorb. It needs to have some sort of acidity in the food, but that could be lemon, lime, tomato, curry, mango, anything like that. As I mentioned, it does not change the taste, color, or smell of the liquid it's cooked in, and 9 out of 10 people, when doing a blind test, can't even tell that the lucky ironfish has been used. Now, on the surface of the lucky ironfish, you'll see a symbol. Now, when I started the company, I was in Cambodia, and we came up with the name lucky ironfish, but that did not translate very well. It was very long, and it was hard to market. But I also realized that families kept calling it the same thing. And when I asked my translator, what does that mean? And he said, oh, they're calling it the heavy black fish. Now, the heavy black fish does not really sound like a health innovation. And so what we did was we put the word la'al, which means good, on the surface of the fish. So now people call it the good fish. Now, the fish also has a very special smile. The lucky ironfish can be reused by an entire family for 5 years. What we have with the smile is that after 5 years of use, the smile fades away. So when your fish isn't happy anymore, that's when you have to trade it in to get a new one. The lucky ironfish is a low-cost, sustainable, and effective solution to combat iron deficiency. So why is it a fish? This is the most common question. Well, when we started in Cambodia, we were actually using iron blocks. And though those were scientifically effective, they were adding iron to the food, nobody wanted to cook with them. Women thought they looked like trash, like pieces of garbage we picked up in the scrap pile, and so they did not want to add it to their food. When we were giving them out, women actually were using them as doorstops and paperweights. But we didn't give up by this. We did some research and discovered that in Cambodian culture, the symbol of fish is a symbol of luck. And so women felt if they put a fish in their cooking pot, they would be lucky. Now what was great was when they used the fish, they got healthier, and they would say, oh, my kids are doing better in school. I'm not fainting anymore. It must be the luck of the fish. And so that's how the lucky ironfish was born. Now, though we started in Cambodia, Lucky Ironfish is now a global social enterprise. We provide the fish in over 66 countries around the world. And what's really great is the symbol of a fish works in all of those different markets. Fish have a lot of prominence in multiple religions and cultures, and at the end of the day, it makes sense to put a fish into your cooking pot. But there's one country where the Lucky Ironfish is not working, and it's a big one. It's India. With a massive vegetarian population, women are hesitant to put even a fake fish into their cooking pot. So, we've developed the Lucky Iron Leaf. It's the exact same thing, but now we have a fish or a veg option. The Lucky Ironfish has been recognized globally by multiple organizations and news outlets. We received Forbes 30 Under 30, EY Social Enterprise of the Year, the Muhammad Ali Humanitarian Award, and Maclean's magazine said the Lucky Ironfish as one of 5 innovations that is changing the world. Now, we have some big fans of the lucky ironfish. We call them fish fans. Just to name a few, we have President Bill Clinton, his daughter Chelsea Clinton, and a Canadian Olympian, Sarah Wells. Not pictured are Alec Baldwin, who has a lucky ironfish, President Obama, but I think the biggest fish fan we have is Oprah. Oprah said the lucky ironfish was off the hook, and we have to agree. So let's compare the lucky ironfish to those supplements that we talked about earlier. In developing countries like Cambodia, iron supplements can cost $675 for 5 years for a family, and they have a compliance rate of about 32%. So if you give away 100 pills to 100 people, only 32 people will actually take them. Now, the lucky ironfish costs less than $10. It can be reused by everybody in the family for 5 years. And our trials have shown a compliance rate of 92%. So not only is the lucky ironfish astronomically cheaper, it's also more effective because more people are using it. Now, lucky ironfish isn't just available in developing markets like Cambodia. We sell the fish globally. In fact, North American and Australian purchasers are our #1 market. And why is that? So iron supplements in developed countries can cost as much as $8,000 per person for 5 years. They also have terrible side effects, so people don't want to take them even if they're spending all of that money on them. We sell the lucky ironfish for $25. Again, it can be reused by the entire family for 5 years, and there are no demonstrated side effects when using the lucky ironfish. As a company, the lucky ironfish is based on science and built on values. Now, the lucky ironfish has been clinically proven. I did my PhD on the lucky ironfish. We have 2 other PhD students who have worked on it, multiple master students, who have conducted over 7 clinical trials around the world, including Cambodia, Guatemala, Dominican Republic, India, and most recently, the United Kingdom. We're also continuing to do research looking at how iron deficiency can impact marginalized populations, including those with HIV or malaria. But this is where my passion comes in. It's the values of the company. Lucky Ironfish has a commitment to embed a social impact in every aspect of the business. Now, just to name a few, it's produced in an environmentally sustainable way in environmentally high standard factories in both Canada and India. Our packaging is FSC certified, so it's made by recycled material and with vegetable dye ink. Our tag-along products, like our cleaning oil, are made with organic products. And we also do various things throughout the year within the company. You might have read in the news that Canada took in a great number of Syrian refugees a few years ago. The Lucky Ironfish is always very busy during the holidays because it makes a great gift, so we always have to bring on more staff. So we hired a team of Syrian refugees to come work for Lucky Ironfish. And what's great is that the one pictured here actually left and made his own business in the city of Guelph selling socks, so that someone actually worked for Lucky Ironfish and is now a job creator in the community. We partner with NGOs and nonprofits around the world to do education not just about the Lucky Ironfish, but also proper nutrition and healthy eating. And we try and find localized opportunities as well. The last image is a palm leaf box that we use in Cambodia. I didn't want to use plastic boxes. There was a lot of litter where I was in Cambodia. So we developed this palm leaf box that's made from biodegradable, recycled palm leaves. And it's produced by a cooperative that hires Cambodians living with disabilities, many of whom are landmine victims. When we started, we employed 5 women in this NGO. We now employ over 70 women who are producing these packages. All of these aspects for the company have made Lucky Ironfish a certified B Corporation, or benefit corporation. B Corps have rankings that they give you to qualify to be a B Corp. And what we're really proud of is since our inception, Lucky Ironfish has ranked in the top 10% of B Corps internationally, giving us a Best for the World certification. Now, this is, I think, the biggest way we have an impact in the company, and this is our buy one, give one model. Every fish we sell globally, online, on Amazon, or in retail, we commit to donate a fish to a family in need. In doing this, we have provided over 170,000 units for free, helping 780,000 people around the world. So the impact is truly massive. Now we're also moving from selling individual lucky iron fish to selling the lucky iron fish in bulk. Some of the examples of organizations that we sell the fish to currently are CARE International, the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, Burberry, who wants to have a positive impact throughout their supply chain, World Vision, who we're running pilots with right now in Tanzania, the International Planned Parenthood Foundation, who help us distribute the fish on the ground, and Grand Challenges Canada. Now, it's our vision at Lucky Iron Fish to be the leaders in all aspects of iron deficiency. We want to be leaders not only in providing this simple solution, but also in diagnosing iron deficiency and doing research on iron deficiency. Current research practices are really struggled, and people have a lot of challenges running proper clinical trials. And they say iron deficiency is greatly underdiagnosed, and that 20% figure is actually much higher. And so Lucky Iron Fish is now rebranded Lucky Iron Fish Enterprise, or Life, and we want to provide solutions in all aspects of iron deficiency. Now, it's ultimately our goal to provide 1 million fish to 1 million families by the year 2020. And though we're on our way, we still need some help. So if any of you are looking to buy a cool gift, to promote a social enterprise, I can say that Lucky Iron Fish would make a great opportunity for that. Now, what I believe in with Lucky Iron Fish is that you don't have to have the social mission be the end result of your company. I'm a strong believer that businesses have a critical role to play in solving the Sustainable Development Goals. That's why it's my belief that businesses should embed social impact throughout their supply chain. It doesn't matter if you're a company like Lucky Iron Fish, looking at a health problem, or looking at an environmental problem. You can be a food company like Danone or Ben & Jerry's, who are B Corps. You can be a bank like BDC or an accounting firm. Any business has the possibility of being a social enterprise. It's just how you embed that impact throughout your model. Now, it's our goal, as I said, to sell 1 million fish, and I believe working together, we can fulfill our goal and put a fish in every pot. So thank you very much, and I'm looking forward to answering all of your questions.
谢谢 Gavin。那我们接下来就进行到 Q&A 时间，我们也请唐凤政委可以上台。那我们工作人员有安排这个座位。那现在也请大家就是可以填写提问单，因为我们进来的时候每个人报到的这个袋子里面都有提问单。那提问单写好之后可以交给我们就是旁边的工作人员，我们穿这个白色 T 恤的工作人员。其他会馆的一样是可以把提问单给我们工作人员，我们工作人员会就是传送给我们这个主舞台区。那接下来主持就交给 Audrey。
所以我可以讲英文。Okay, so they told me I can speak in English. Right. So one thing that really strikes me during your presentation is the call to action at the end of it, where you said that all enterprises whatsoever can be a social enterprise by embedding social impact within the enterprise supply chain and fabric and so on. Do you have perhaps some inspiring examples or inspiring statements that would you like to share with us on how to make such an embedding possible? And if there is an enterprise, there's a CEO sitting right here and hearing your message, what would you say to be the first practical step toward moving in this direction?
Thank you for the question. I think when you look at the Sustainable Development Goals, which are these goals that the UN has set to solve some of the world's most daunting challenges, it can seem impossible to try and achieve it. Or you might think, my business is too small, or I'm just one person. How can I make a difference? And what's important is actually looking at the goals and thinking how you can apply them to your own business. Because one person does have the power to make a ripple effect that can make change. And so if you look at sustainable consumption or transparency and engagement and how your organization can do simple things that can be embedded to have that impact, being a B Corp for me is actually really important. It's not just a marketing tool. We have a lot of customers now who are saying they only want to buy B Corps. And we have stores and retail locations who want to have B Corp sections. So not only by having an impact are you making the world better, but it also is a smart business decision too. And so I would just suggest that you look at the SDGs and how you can embed them in your company.
Well, that's great. The SDGs are now also officially part of our Ministry of Foreign Affairs diplomatic missions starting this year. And also the B Corp movement is really active in Taiwan. We have a publicly listed bank, the O Bank, that's a B Corp, law firms and everything. So yeah, suggestion is simply to look into the SDGs and maybe consult the B Corp movement and then just be very public about how you do such things. Another question that springs to my mind is how you adapt to the local markets, like how the fish becomes a leaf for vegetarians and how you got the lucky fish idea from your work. So how do you conduct this research? Did you actually live in Cambodia? Is it part of your research program? Is there a method for enterprises or social workers who want to innovate and co-create with the stakeholders instead of just for them?
So to answer that question, I'm going to talk about my biggest business failure, not only for my ego, but it was also a very expensive failure. When I was living in Cambodia, we developed the product and the research worked. We knew the lucky ironfish was effective. So I became very arrogant and said, we have this solution that's going to help millions of people. And what we're going to do is we're going to go door to door, sell the lucky ironfish. Everyone's going to understand the value proposition. Everyone's going to buy it, and we're going to be fine. Iron deficiency will be gone in 6 months in Cambodia. We developed a traveling road show. We had a mascot, Dr. Fish. We had a jingle. And we had to sell, I think, like 200 fish a month to be sustainable. In 6 months, we sold 10 fish. And I refused to give up, and I kept saying, no, we're going to make it, wasting more and more and more money. And the reason was, we just went on into these communities assuming that they would believe our answer and that we had the way that we would sell it to them. And that didn't work. We had to establish trust. There are different sort of ways that you can engage community leaders to get people to buy into the product. So we shifted our model, and now we sell or work with partners who are already established on the ground, who already have relationships and built trust within the communities. And it's through this partnership that we've been able to have such success in our distribution, because we learned the hard way that we really can't do it alone.
Well, that's great. So just following up on this question, so how do you know if you have succeeded? You see there is, of course, the studies that you mentioned. There's a 92% compliance rate. But are there deeper studies and that works perhaps with local partners? Someone from the audience would like to know, perhaps, have you done any research on perhaps how inspired the local NGOs? How is the wider impact being impacted? Is it part of your B Corp assessment, or are you doing other studies on your wider social impact in addition to, of course, the health effects that's already proven?
Well, coming from doing a PhD, and I was very focused on the data, and so the trial data, looking at all the sort of the larger scale numbers from a quantitative and qualitative level, and that can get very almost boring, to be honest, because you're just looking at this giant macro scale, and you kind of forget at times what you're actually doing and the impact that you're having. So for me, it's really important to go back to the communities where we work and actually talk to the users, talk to the NGOs, and find out how the lucky ironfish is having an impact. And by doing so, we've heard firsthand from women who said, I work in a garment factory. I used to pass out 3 times a week. Now I'm not fainting at all. It's incredible. Or my kids never used to be able to go to school. They were too tired. They had headaches. And now they're top of their class. We had a village leader in Cambodia who was the first to adapt the product, And she knew people would be skeptical about using it, so she would actually host these dinners at her house to have people come taste the food to realize that it was actually okay to use. And we've taken that concept and now embedded taste tests in our global training models that we use with NGOs. So yes, it's important to know the data, to know what's working, to validate the product. But if you're not actually on the ground experiencing what's happening and seeing the impact, it's hard to know that you're actually making change.
That's great, thank you. Another person from the audience would like to know, it is very common as a social enterprise begins scaling up, especially to a truly multinational scale, there will be incentives from the commercial world to co-brand, to quote, sell out, unquote, and to lend some of your public trust in you, but into the maybe a little bit more questionable commercial behaviors and so on, but in the name of getting more shareholder attention and things like that. So this is a very common tension when a social enterprise grows to a certain level. Have you experienced any of this?
Yeah, that's a really good and difficult question, and one that we've spent a lot of time thinking about at Lucky Ironfish. So when you look at, for example, governments who are looking at buying the product as a part of their health interventions, there are some governments that are, I would say, not the best in terms of their record on human rights, on their treatment of women. And we have to make that decision. Are we going to work with this entity to provide the Lucky Ironfish, knowing that all of these other things are happening on the other side? And at the same time, we've had companies who do want to put their logo on the fish and provide it as a sales incentive. So what we've done is we've instituted a policy in a bylaw at our governance level, where if it doesn't meet a certain threshold, so if the country doesn't rank at a certain position on the Human Rights Index, or if the company, the values are not aligned with ours, it actually becomes a board decision of will we work with that organization or not. And the reason why we did that is because I have biases, I'm one human, and so I don't feel it should just be me dictating who we work with because of my own opinions. So by making it a board decision, we have discussion, because working with the government, for example, you want to help people, you want to help improve the health of the communities, so we have to make that decision on what level do we do so. And it's hard to have these conversations sometimes, and I'm sure they'll continue to be challenging, but as long as our board follows our own vision and believes in our values, I'm confident that we'll be able to succeed with it.
So that's actually written in your bylaws?
Yeah, we've actually put a bylaw, which some investors do not like.
Well, that's great. Yeah, very soon we'll have a new company act here in Taiwan, and for social missions written into bylaws, now the Ministry of Economy will also recognize it and release it as open data for people to analyze. So another question from the audience is that, have you run into issues where the government really wish to push this as part of their health interventions, but it's done in a way that the local community or the local civil society, because of not your product, but the way that the government is delivering it, grows distrust or grows a way to resistance it? And have you run into this issue? And if so, have you done any work with the local NGOs or community to resolve this?
Yeah, so I find that sometimes governments can be very slow for innovation and very risk adverse. And that's just the nature of government, for transparency for the stakeholders and their citizens. And so because iron supplements are such a common and easy to understand solution, you give out a pill, you assume people take them and it works. We do find a lot of governments say, well, work with another country first, prove it works, and then once you do 4 or 5, come back to us. So it's sort of like this follower mentality. So what we've actually done is looked at governments that have an innovative approach to health and to iron deficiency. Tanzania is one, India is another. And then we've engaged that government and said, you should be a leader in this. You should be the first country implementing an iron fish strategy to help improve the health of your communities. And we've actually done that with one country in East Africa. And what was very interesting is the neighboring country found out and called and said, no, we want to be number one. We have to be first in this. So it's almost this friendly competition, which ultimately it's helping improve the health, so it's great. But it's finding those governments willing and then using that data to convince other governments to follow suit, because it is such a cost savings and having a major impact on the community.
Well, so a obvious follow-up question on the competition part. A audience would want to know, how do you avoid competitors, or do you avoid competitors? Are you patented or trademarked or in some way, so that because the idea is really easy to copy?
Yeah, so patenting and our protections come up a lot, especially in investor meetings. The lucky ironfish concept seems very simple, but the design is actually very complex. The way it has the curvatures on it make it rattle when it's in the cooking pot, which will maximize the amount of iron that's released. The electrolytic iron that I mentioned, which is a specially formulated type of iron, that's actually a patented process to make that iron. And so we do, and our trademarks and branding, we have a very strong brand. We had 3 billion social media impressions last year. And so we're able to protect those, but ultimately someone can make their own copy. It's inevitable. We've seen the lucky iron fish in other countries on Amazons and things that look nothing like our product. And our main concern is, and I do approach this not from a capitalistic standpoint, but from a security and safety standpoint, we spend a lot of resources and money making sure the fish is safe, that it's healthy, pure iron that's being released, not too much, not too little, and that there are no other contaminants. And I don't know if someone copying the product would follow those same steps. So it's really important in our branding to make sure that you buy from a trusted source, you buy from Lucky Iron Fish. We have some technology tools that monitor the internet to find the copies, and we do see them. And that's the way that we do protect it. It's through our brands, because ultimately enforcing it can be really difficult.
So do you need to work with the Food and Drug agencies at all? Like this is it classified as a medical instrument or a drug?
So whatever ministry we work with varies from government to government. Because we're in a gray area, it's not a fortified product, it's not a supplement, it's an at-home fortification tool. It doesn't really follow under any one umbrella. We do have FDA in the United States and Health Canada registration with the iron that's used. The electrolytic iron is WHO certified. It's what the World Health Organization uses for their fortification standards. So it just depends what government we're in, which also can cause some corruption too. So we've got certain ministries and some governments who have said, you have to work with us. By the way, our fee is $10,000. And another ministry says, well, ours is $9,000. And our approach is, well, we're not paying either of you. So we have a zero tolerance for corruption. But it can cause, that confusion can cause opportunity to take advantage of it.
So again, on the safety viewpoint, say that someone in the audience actually already want to buy a lucky ironfish, and they want to know that if there is any safety concerns for overdosing.
Well, I hope a lot of people want to buy the lucky ironfish. One of the great aspects of the product is that it's not only a treatment for iron deficiency, but it's also preventative. So you can use it every day if you don't have iron deficiency, and it will give enough iron to prevent you from becoming iron deficient. It releases the same amount of iron as like a chicken breast. So just imagine, can you overdose on chicken breasts? Is that going to give you too much iron? That would be a lot of meat. So daily use will not be a concern. We have also done some tests on misuse. So what if you boil the fish for an hour or 5 hours, or 5 fish for 5 hours? And what we found is that it does not release a dangerous amount of iron, but the water becomes very brown and really just stinks like iron. And so users don't want to consume it. So it's almost a self-protecting thing, where if it's used improperly, it's going to make the water taste bad and no one will drink it.
That's great. So, of course, 3 people wants to know, have you worked with companies producing the pot?
Like iron pots?
Yeah, well, or iron, like pots with iron fortification.
So the concept of lucky ironfish does come from cast iron pots. A challenge with those is that they create a shield over time, because they're cooking with oils and things that block the iron release. They're also very heavy and difficult to clean. And so we've actually had studies of people who were given free iron pots and threw them away because they were too difficult to maintain. So we have not directly worked with any iron pot producers or pharmaceutical companies, but we're always open for any kind of partnership.
That's awesome. So in the opening address from our vice president, who also works in public health, he mentioned that one of his colleagues is actually in Cambodia working in a social enterprise related to HIV. And at the part of your talk, you also talk about that you are also working with teams working on HIV and malaria. So someone from the audience actually would like to know, because your focus, as you say, is on iron deficiency. So how does those 2 or 3 research topics relate in your social enterprise work?
So at a very high level, iron deficiency has a very complicated relationship with HIV. Antiretrovirals, or ARVs, which you take to treat it or to maintain it, they don't react well with iron supplements. If you take an ARV and an iron supplement, they have a negative reaction and can actually cause you to be sick and cause neither of the pills to work. However, if you are iron deficient and have HIV, you're more susceptible to other diseases and more susceptible to transition to AIDS. And so we've actually done a clinical trial in India looking at HIV-positive individuals using the lucky iron fish as a way of increasing their iron status. And the data just came back last week, and it showed that it actually worked. And it kept people in a healthy iron levels while still being able to use the ARVs.
Okay. There's two questions very much related. Have you looked into calcium or other food ingredients in it? And you mentioned your supply chain. It is also sustainable and also socially impact driven in your supply chain, actually in the manufacturing process of those iron fish. Can you go into a little bit more detail of what you actually mean by the social impact generated?
Sure. So starting with the first question, we have considered looking at other nutritional deficiencies. And for the first 4 years of the company, I actually thought we would get iron kind of done and running on itself, and then move into other areas like zinc or vitamin B or calcium. But the amount of effort it's taken and the amount of money it's taken to just get the lucky iron fish to be accepted, and we're still going up such an uphill battle with that, I thought that would be too difficult at this stage. But at the same time, we were becoming iron deficiency experts. We knew everything about it. We were on top of the data and the research. We were meeting with new innovative diagnostic companies. And so that's why we made the pivot to not be this nutrition company, but this iron deficiency company, focusing just on iron deficiency. Now the second question around the impact is how do you measure the impact?
The manufacturing process.
So we, in terms of manufacturing, we make sure that the producers follow a variety of safety standards for workplace well-being. They have to meet a certain environmental threshold for use of their footprint and use of water. We actually, the factory that we use has a zero carbon footprint, so a neutral footprint, because they recycle a lot of their sort of materials and water and things. And so that's the standard we've set for that.
Okay, so there's more questions, but the time's running out. Thank you again so much, Gavin, for sharing with us on your awesome journey. Thank you so much.
Thank you.